MK-Ultra, codenamed Bluebird. This was the Central Intelligence Agency's most secret psychological experiment, the search for total mental control. It began in 1953 under the Cold War shadow. America feared communist brainwashing. The CIA wanted to master it first. The plan: break the human mind and rebuild it. Doctors dosed unsuspecting citizens with LSD, hypnotized prisoners, and shocked hospital patients until their memories shattered. Many never knew they were part of an experiment. At McGill University in Canada, Dr. Donald Ewan Cameron developed a method he called psychic driving. Patients entered his care for anxiety. They left without memories, speech, or identity. He erased them like chalk on a board and called it science. By 1973, the CIA destroyed most records. Survivors became the only proof of what was done. Thousands of lives fractured, all for an experiment that never worked. The lesson learned was darker than the goal itself. Fear is the most effective form of control. Operation Midnight Climax, codename Mirror Room. A CIA front disguised as a San Francisco brothel. Behind two-way mirrors, federal agents watched as men were secretly drugged with LSD. Hidden microphones recorded every reaction. The goal: study manipulation. But it evolved into voyeurism, espionage, and chaos. Agents became participants. Subjects lost their sanity. No consent, no record, no oversight. When the operation ended, it left behind one truth: that power corrupts most when no one is watching. These experiments weren't about understanding the mind, they were about owning it. And in that pursuit, science became a weapon of fear. Operation Whitecoat, codename Faith Shield. Between 1954 and 1973, inside Fort Detrick, Maryland, the U.S. Army began one of the most unusual medical experiments of the Cold War. Hundreds of young men, all Seventh-day Adventists, refused to carry weapons on moral grounds. The Army offered another way to serve, through science. They volunteered to be exposed to biological agents such as anthrax, tularemia, and Q fever. The stated goal was protection, developing vaccines to save soldiers and civilians. But many volunteers never received full disclosure. Some suffered lasting damage to their lungs, hearts, and immune systems. For 2 decades, the tests continued. Each subject believed his sacrifice was righteous. But history revealed a darker truth. Even faith could be used as a weapon when wrapped in patriotism. The results advanced biodefense research. The cost was human trust. Project 4.1, codename Bravo Fallout. On March 4, 1954, the United States detonated the Castle Bravo hydrogen bomb over the Marshall Islands. The explosion was twice as powerful as predicted. Radioactive ash fell like snow. Children played in it. Villagers drank contaminated water. Rather than evacuate them, scientists labeled the fallout zone a research site. Project 4.1 was born, a study on the effects of radiation exposure on living human subjects. For years, doctors measured tumors, deformities, and miscarriages, documenting pain as data. The reports were classified as medical observation, but the victims knew better. Project 4.1 proved a grim lesson. In the race for atomic dominance, human life was a variable, not a value. Tuskegee Syphilis Study, codename Study 399. In 1932, in Macon County, Alabama, the U.S. Public Health Service began an experiment disguised as healthcare. 600 poor black men were told they were being treated for bad blood. In reality, doctors were studying the natural progression of untreated syphilis while withholding the cure. When penicillin became the standard treatment in the 1940s, these men were deliberately denied it. The experiment continued for 40 years. Some died slow, painful deaths. Others passed the disease to their wives and children. Government doctors published papers, held meetings, and called it science. It was deception on a national scale, medical racism dressed as research. When the truth finally broke in 1972, it shocked the world. 128 men were dead. Hundreds of lives were shattered. Tuskegee became a permanent scar on American medicine, proof that trust, once broken, can take generations to heal. Guatemala STD trials, codename Inoculation. From 1946 to 1948, U.S. health officials traveled to Guatemala to test new antibiotic drugs. Their method: deliberately infecting prisoners, soldiers, and psychiatric patients with syphilis and gonorrhea without consent or knowledge. Doctors used infected prostitutes, open wounds, and injections to transmit disease. Over 1,300 people were exposed. Dozens died. many lived with permanent damage. It was medical exploitation under the cover of international research. The truth remained buried for more than 60 years. In 2010, the US government officially apologized, but for the victims, no apology could restore what was taken. These experiments revealed the darkest truth of all, that the greatest danger to humanity isn't the disease, but the hands that pretend to heal it. DARPA's BioDesign program, codename Immortal Cell. In the early 2010s, the U.S. Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, DARPA, launched BioDesign, an ambitious program to engineer living organisms with built-in kill switches. The stated purpose: create synthetic life forms that never die, yet can be deactivated instantly if they escape control. Official documents frame this as a defensive innovation, a way to build self-repairing materials, adaptive vaccines, or resilient soldiers for extreme environments. But critics see the echoes of Cold War experimentation. Once again, science inches toward redesigning life itself. If MK Ultra was about breaking minds, biodesign could be about rewriting bodies, the line between human and experiment blurring under the banner of national security. Neural manipulation research, codename Silent Signal. Across neurotech companies and defense labs, brain-computer interfaces are no longer science fiction. Electrodes and nanosensors can already read neural activity and, in some tests, influence it. The original goal was medical, to help paralyzed patients control prosthetic limbs or restore lost senses. But the same technology could monitor emotions, suppress dissent, or even implant suggestions. Where the 1950s used LSD to probe the mind, today it is data, algorithms, and implants invisible and wireless. No more two-way mirrors, no more secret brothels. Now the experiment may be inside your own head. The lesson from history is clear. What begins as innovation can quietly become control. The question is whether we'll recognize it before it's too late. From MK Ultra's LSD mind games to today's neural implants and digital biometrics, one thing never changed: the obsession with control. Power always disguises itself as protection. It's for your safety, they said. But every era proved the same rule. When power meets fear, ethics disappear first. Governments justified it as national defense. Scientists justified it as progress. Yet behind every discovery stood a person who never chose to become a data point. A soldier, a patient, a prisoner, a child. And the scariest part, the experiments never truly stopped. They just evolved from test chambers to data centers, from syringes to sensors. The lab coats got cleaner, the methods got quieter, but the purpose remained unchanged: to understand you, to predict you, and eventually to control you. As biotechnology fuses with artificial intelligence, we face the same ancient question: not what can we build next, but what will we become if we stop asking why? Because in the end, the real experiment was never about chemicals or cells. It was about us, how much we're willing to ignore in the name of progress. What if the next medical breakthrough you celebrate is already testing you?